Hi, my dear young minds. I am Somasundaram, Assistant Professor, Department of Management, Kristu Jayanti College, Bangalore. Today I am here and I am delighted to talk about the important topic in human resource management. The topic which I am going to talk to you today is one of the important process of human resource planning. Everyone knows about what is called human resource management, but from the company perspective, if you think what is important process of every organization to manage the human resource is the selection process. Once the company is inviting the candidates to apply for the particular job, which is talking about the recruitment process, they will be identifying who will be the suitable candidate for our company. So the second important process in human resource planning is selection. Today I am going to talk about the important step in human resource planning called selection. Of course, once the candidates applied for the particular positions in the particular company, the company has to screen the employee's profile. So selection here, it is one of the important process which makes the companies to identify the potential employee so that the companies can able to make the employees to work and the productivity will be 100%. So here the selection is an important process which I am going to talk today. And another selection process, you know how the selection process takes place in the company. If you see the types selection process and its stages, there are very important stages are there. The first important stage is preliminary screening. Of course, once the candidate applied for the particular designation in the particular company, the company has to scrutinize the employee's profile, right? Finding out whether this particular profile meets the proper eligibility criteria and experience or qualification. At the same time, whether this particular profile has experience in the respective field, what the company is expecting. So initially, once the candidates applied for the particular position, the companies will start scrutinizing the employee's profile and they'll start screening. And finally, from the applications or those are given here, they will be selecting. And after selecting, they will be conducting a different types of tests. Once the candidates are selected from that particular test, they will be called for an one-to-one interview. Once the interview is over, they can able to cross-check the employees based on their references to know about how he has worked in the earlier company, previous company, at the same time about his character, all this thing. Once the reference and background check has been done, the company will go for a decision, yes, this candidate will be the right candidate for our company. Once the selection decision has been made by the company, if it is required, they can go for some medical examination, which is applicable only to a particular position. Once it is done, finally, companies can give the offer to the candidate and they can ask them to place in the respective job. So once the job offer is done and the candidates accept the offer, the term of employment starts from there. So now you understood how the process of selection will take place in the company as per these 8 important stages. Once it is done, then companies can able to place the employees in the respective designation and they can able to make it very clear about its roles and responsibility. And here, out of this selection process, you should know about what are the different types of selection tests companies can follow. Of course, everyone knows about, if you take any corporate, any company, any organization, definitely they'll be having a aptitude test. Now, under that aptitude test, what are the tests the companies can conduct to undergo to scrutinize the employees to know about their knowledge, qualities, all those things. Now, when you talk about the aptitude test, there are 3 different types of tests which will be conducted under the aptitude test. The one is intelligence test. Of course, this particular test will be helpful for the companies to know about the intelligence quotient of the every candidates. Whether this candidate is good in comprehensive, whether this candidate is good in vocal, whether the candidate is good in vocabulary, whether the candidate is good in language and many are. So based on this, the companies can able to identify the intelligent factors of that particular candidate and they can able to identify that whether this candidate is suitable and he can able to make use of his skills and knowledge in the company. Followed by that, there is another important test which comes under the aptitude category is called mechanical test. So this is one of the tests which is very specific and peculiar for the particular designation. For example, you are a person with the background of engineering, you are the person with the background of computer science, you are the person with the background of media studies. Of course, they want to test your technical knowledge in the particular domain. So here mechanical test plays a vital role, and to know about whether the person is technically strong, and almost the skilled employees will be coming under this particular category. Followed by that, there is a third important test which is a part of aptitude test called psychometer test. Of course, nowadays most of the companies are focusing on psychological aspect of the candidates, whether candidates are qualified, whether they have eligibility, whether they have experience. Apart from that, they want to know about the psychometer factor of the candidate, whether this candidate will suitable for our culture, whether this candidate will able to work in our company, whether this candidates can be flexible, what is his thought, what is his mind, all these things can be measured through the psychometer test, which is to know about whether the candidates are psychological, they are ready to work in the organizations by adapting this culture, policy, and so on. Followed by that, there is a fourth important test called clerical test, which is applicable to the candidates who is applying for the administrative role. So when you are applying for administrative role, so under this particular clerical test, they want to identify whether the candidate is having a very good knowledge and he or she has an experience in the particular field where he can able to work with the documents, preparing the report, and many on. So these are one of the four major tests which comes under the aptitude test. When you come to the second type of test which is followed by the companies for selecting the candidate, you have an achievement test. Now this particular test is mostly applicable to the experienced candidate. So once a candidate gets a job opportunity in the company, they will be working in the companies for 6 months or 1 year, and suppose the candidate wants to go for a promotion, or whether the candidate wants to get a shift in their particular department or some other companies, those companies will undergo this test. Under this achievement test, we have two major categories. The first important test under achievement test is job knowledge test. Of course, the companies want to measure the candidate's knowledge, where the candidate has a knowledge in the particular field. For example, if you take the education institution, a person is appointed as a junior lecturer. If the junior lecturer wants to go for a senior lecturer position, or teaching assistant wants to go for an assistant professor position, they want to test whether this candidate having a knowledge in lecturing through the various topics, and he has a knowledge about the particular topic. Like for example, if you are taking an account subject, whether you have a knowledge about the basic accounting principle, and many things like that they can able to measure through the job knowledge test. Followed by that, there is another important test which comes under achievement test called work sample test. Suppose if you take the same example, if you want to apply for a teaching position to the assistant professor, they want to test whether you are having that quality to stand in front of 70 plus students to take lecture and make them to listen. So they will be giving a test for the candidates to know about whether this particular candidates can able to take the class, whether how the candidates can able to deliver the lecture. So they will be asking you to take a class for the particular topic for 2 or 3 minutes to know about whether your potential, you have enough knowledge about the particular job and responsibility, so that it is easy for the companies to assess the candidates, whether the candidates able to perform well in the future. Now these are the two important tests which comes under the achievement test, which is especially focused on the experienced candidates. I hope from this video you understood the different types of tests. At the same time, you know about the selection process of the company, how they will follow. And based on that, in the next upcoming video, we will discuss about the different types of interview, how they will follow in the company. So with that, I thank everyone for your listening my video. Thank you.